from the studio today, which is very exciting. I'm happy to be back in the space. Just wanted to record from here today because I've missed the studio. So this is just going to be a quick reference video for a sun salutation A. I'll go through it the first time the regular way, and then I will talk about the alignment of the postures the second time I go through. So we start standing at the top of the mat. Standing tall, mountain pose or Tadasana. Neutral spine. Inhaling, arms reach up, the gaze comes up. Exhale, hinge at the waist, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, the hands to the mat, the feet travel back. Inhale at the top, exhale, lower with control through your tricep push-up. Inhaling, head and chest up to the back bend of choice. Exhale the hips up and back, rolling back to downward facing dog. Or that inverted V shape. Inhale the gaze forward. The feet travel to the top of the mat. Exhaling forward fold. Inhale, rise tall, arms overhead. And in this case, I'm going to bring palms together and exhale thumbs to the center of the chest. So just coming back to mountain pose with Anjali Mudra, hands at the center of the chest. All right, so you can see it was one breath, one movement. We've practiced that a lot. So just to combine some alignment cues in with this, so you can come back and reference. In mountain pose, and we've already talked about this one a little bit, the arms are extended down by the sides of the body, palms face forward. Kind of gripping the floor with both feet. You might feel the kneecaps start to lift as we engage the quadriceps. Feet are hip distance apart. We have that neutral spine. So we have the curve, the natural curve in the back in a couple of places. Don't try to fight the natural curve, but we don't want to slump. Don't want to do that shelf with the lower back. Don't want to cock a hip to one side or the other. We're standing tall. Shoulders are rolled back and down just a little bit. Gaze is forward. On the inhale, the arms come up, shoulders are still relaxed, core is engaged. The core is engaged throughout. Try to keep that pelvic floor lifted. Gaze comes up. Inhaling here, and as you exhale, they can always do a swan dive where they open the arms up. Try to keep the back flat as you forward fold, or hands can come together, trace a line through the center of your chest into the forward fold. In your forward fold, feet, excuse me, inhale, spit. You're going to try to kind of keep the hips stacked over the heels. Now my tailbone comes back a little bit. I always keep a little bend in my knees. I've injured both of my hamstrings, so I never lock. You never ever want to lock the knees out, and I've said that a lot of times, but never lock the knees out, never lock the arms out. In the forward fold, the gaze can come back towards the knees or at the feet. Soft bend in the knee, at least. They can have a more generous bend. They can start to lengthen out the legs, but always remind them not to lock the knees out. On the lift, it's a half lift. The chest is about parallel with the floor. Now, I never cue it parallel. Well, sometimes I do. But we just want to flatten out the back. Kind of pull the shoulder blades together a little bit. Doesn't matter if it's an angled shape or if they're all the way up. Gaze can be at the floor or gaze can come forward. Shoulders away from the ears. Hands can be anywhere they want them to be. On the exhale, the hands find the floor, wrists underneath the shoulders, one foot back, then the other. Some people hop back, and that's perfectly fine. Never lock the elbows out. Wrists are underneath the elbows. Back is nice and flat here. Core is engaged. That space between the shoulder blades is flat. Up on the balls of the feet. As we start to come through that tricep push-up, kind of tip forward on the toes. The elbows brush back towards the ribs. You want to try to lower down in one piece. Back is nice and flat. This is Chaturanga Dandasana till the triceps are parallel to the rib cage. Chaturanga is coming all the way down to the floor. The elbows brush back the entire time. Now some people keep their hands underneath their shoulders. I cannot do that. My arms come down to the floor. So hands can be anywhere from the breastbone to the shoulders, and it's okay. If they're coming into cobra, which is belly, or the thighs on the floor rather, glutes are loose, top of the feet flat. Again, never locking the elbows out. Shoulders away from the ribs, stretching out the lower back. Your cobra can be anywhere from barely lifting the head up all the way to that extension of the arms. If they are in upward facing dog, tops of the feet on the floor, hands on the floor, glutes are squeezed here. You're gazing, or you're not gazing. Your glutes are squeezed. I've heard people cue the gaze up. I prefer to keep the gaze forward to not strain the neck. Always be mindful of the neck. As you start to lift up, so it would be an inhale to come up into that cobra pose or an upward facing dog. Exhale, you start to shift the hips up and back. My feet slide, they might step, it doesn't matter how you get there. So we're in that piped-ish position. It doesn't matter how close the heels are to the floor or how long the legs are. Feet are about hip distance apart, hands are about shoulder distance apart, maybe a little wider. You want to try to cue more of a flat back than a long leg. So a way to get the back flat, bend the knees a little bit. You want to push the floor away from them, or you want cue them to push the floor away so they don't dump into their shoulders, their wrists, and their elbows, because then it just starts to hurt their wrists. All 10 finger pads on the floor. You can feel a lot of pressure in the U shape between your forefinger, your pointer, and your thumb. Don't lock the elbows out. Pressing the tailbone and the sits bones towards the back wall. Don't be too concerned with the space between their feet and their hands. Technically, you should be able to shift from a plank to your downward facing dog and not change the position, but I have to walk my hands back a bit. Inhaling, the gaze comes forward, the feet travel to the top of the mat. Now, some people add an extra lift here, so they would inhale, halfway lift, exhale to hold, and then inhale, come all the way up, and that is up to you. If you want to add that extra half lift before you're in that forward fold, that's fine. I don't usually add it, because once people are coming from downward facing dog to here, they're already kind of lifted, so I just say forward fold. Inhale, rising up. And then you can come back to your mountain pose. So again, we do 3 sun salutations. Generally, it's in sets of 3. Whoops. So I will do a reference video for a sun salutation B, one time through, and then break it down.